Advocacy groups have filed a lawsuit here in Paris against BNP Paribas. They allege that in 1994, at the height of the Rwandan Genocide, the French bank knowingly approved a transfer of $1.3 million from the Rwandan central bank to an arms dealer working with the Hutu-led army that was carrying out the slaughter. And all this despite a UN arms embargo. The case comes days after accusations surfaced that the then chief of staff to French President François Mitterrand ordered weapons shipments to continue.
Did a French bank help Rwanda get around a UN embargo in 1994 to purchase weaponry then used in the genocide against the nation's Tutsis? That's the basis of a new lawsuit from one of 3 French NGOs, including accusations of complicity in the genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity.
According to what we know from the inquiry's reports and other banks who may have been solicited by the Rwandan government, which froze funds so as to not risk breaking the embargo, it all shows us that BNP must have known where the money would be going and so must have known it would be helping in the genocide by carrying out the transfer.
The Banque Nationale de Paris merged with Paribas in 2000 to become today's French banking entity. However, the $1.3 million transfer dates back to the summer of 1994. The NGOs allege a Hutu colonel currently serving a 35-year sentence for crimes against humanity agreed to purchase 80 tons of weaponry from South African arms dealer Petrus Willem Ehlers that June. BNP would then have acted as the middleman, transferring the funding from the Rwandan central bank to the arms dealer's Swiss account. The arms were then delivered to Rwanda through a border city in the neighbouring Democratic Republic of Congo. Elsewhere, though, there have been claims the trail stretches even higher. A French journalist told France 24 of classified documents showing that Paris itself ordered the rearming of Hutu fighters during the conflict.
The idea was that if an allied government fell, all the other ones were also at risk, which explains this loyalty to the Rwandan authorities in the early 90s, during the genocide when Hutu extremists were in charge, and even after. It's not the French army that's involved, it's the government, the very heart of the French nation.
Up until 1994, Rwanda had strong ties with France. It was only under its current president, Paul Kagame, that the African nation has turned towards both the US and the UK.
That report there by Luc Schrago. And for more, we're joined by Marie-Laure Gilan. She's the head of litigation at the advocacy group Sherpa. You saw her in that report. Thank you for being with us here.
Thank you for inviting us.
On France 24. These charges that are being filed against the bank, it was a long time coming, this investigation?
A long time coming, and this is why it's coming only now. The last element that we had were collected recently, and it was also very long to qualify legally the facts.
Qualify legally the facts. When were you first tipped off to this story?
So like about 4 years ago, but then like the time to collect all the elements that we needed. And also we wanted to launch the complaint now that the new government has been just elected in France, because it's a good occasion, we think, to highlight the liability of investors in war crimes, but also more generally in violations of human rights. And so we hope that this complaint would encourage the new government and the new deputies to be really aware of this liability, this potential liability.
The finger's been pointed in the past at another French bank, Crédit Lyonnais, for its close ties to the regime that was in Kigali before, in the build-up to the genocide. In this particular case, though, how serious is it what BNP did? Did they willingly knew that they were approving a deal to basically help a genocide?
So to be accused of complicity in a genocide, you have to know that you would help the genocide. The element that we have, lots of testimonies and reports show that the bank would have known that the transfer was aimed at buying arms and also would have contributed to the genocide, because the transfer was asked by the client of the bank, the National Bank of Rwanda, first, for $1.3 million, which is a lot. And during the genocide...
Yeah, let's just situate this. It's June 1994.
June 1994.
The genocide has begun in April.
Yes.
And it will continue for 100 days until the regime is finally toppled for good.
And the embargo on arms of the UN had been adopted 1 month before, in May. So some other banks, like the Brussels Lambert Bank, has blocked the Rwandan funds. And this bank, for example, in his testimonies, is saying that it was impossible to not know that the Rwandan government at the time was looking every means to be able to fund the arms that they needed to commit the genocide.
Marie-Laure Gilan, one of the shadowy areas that divides France to this day is, if the timeline is correct, right after this loan was approved, the French government approved a humanitarian mission called Operation Turquoise.
Mm-hmm.
The UN had pulled out. The French army moved in. They're accused, the French military, of knowingly or unwittingly harboring those who were carrying out the genocide and of being part of the problem, not part of the solution. This case, with the money that the BNP approves, does that change the way you look at the history of what happened during the genocide?
This could definitely change the history, at the end, the way of looking at the history. And for us, it's a good opportunity to say that we don't have to look only at states' responsibilities, liabilities, or military responsibility, but we don't have to forget the liability of investors, of private investors. And it's also a very good occasion to say that there's a new law in France just adopted, duty of care law, and it's unique in the world for the moment. And this law could prevent, applied to the bank, could prevent this type of violations. So it's really important to show that investors can be involved in this type of history and not to forget them, and to apply the relevant laws.
What's your sense? Why did BNP approve the loan?
Sorry?
What's your personal sense? Why did BNP approve the loan?
We should ask them, because it's a mystery for us. Obviously, there's an economic benefit on doing this transfer, or maybe not to lose a client, but we could not tell you, and we don't need the reason or the interest of the bank in the operation to characterize legally this operation.
One of the, be it academics or militants or advocates, one of the things they complain about is just how much, even though the genocide happened in 1994, more than 2 decades ago, how many documents are still classified in France. Did you come up against that in your investigation?
It was very hard to get any documents as well, like other investigators, and we would have hoped, actually, when they were disclassified, to have more elements, but this is not the case. So yeah, we hope that the judges, the instruction judges, will actually have access to more documents. We actually have a petition in our website to ask people to also ask for a good instruction, and so that the light would be really made on this story.
Are magistrates, judges, lawyers cooperating to help find the truth, or are they slowing you down, saying there's a raison d'état, a reason of state that means we can't talk about this. Let's not talk about this.
It's very difficult for the moment to say because the complaint has been launched yesterday. But we know that, for example, in the Lafarge case that we have launched last year, it's been very encouraging to see that 3 instruction judges, very good judges, has been just designated. And so we have lots of hope that French justice really wants to make multinationals and banks responsible for what their activities are causing abroad.
The Lafarge case, those are pertaining to events that happened just a couple of years ago in Syria with the cement maker doing business with people who were close to the jihadists.
Yes.
Here we're talking about something that dates back to 1994. Do you get the sense that France is ready to really get to the bottom? Because we've had so many commissions and that have looked into what happened during the Rwandan genocide. There have been trials, there have been criminal trials. But do you get the feeling that there really is a willingness now in France to get to the truth?
I think, again, this case is different because we're not talking about state responsibility or state liability, but an investor's liability.
Well, you say that, but it overlaps. I mean, if a bank is approving a loan for arms deals, surely the state has some eye into it.
This is to the judge then to go higher, but the complaint is concentrated on the bank, and we think that France is ready to face multinationals and banks' responsibility. Until now, it was like really a total impunity. But since we adopted this law, we were talking about duty of care law, we have hope that this will change. And I think that France have lots of interest to be an example in Europe with this law and with those kind of cases to show that we don't want our private actors to be involved in such violations of human rights.
Marie-Laure Gilan, head of litigation at Sherpa, the advocacy group. Many thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for you.